Good morning. I want to begin with a question. What happens to the human mind when you see the entire Earth, all of it, at once? No borders, no countries, just a single luminous sphere suspended in infinite darkness. This is the question at the heart of what we call the overview effect, a term coined in 1987 that has since become one of the most compelling concepts in space psychology. Today, I'll walk you through what it is, where it comes from, what the evidence says, and just as importantly, what it doesn't yet tell us. Let's start with the core phenomenon. Astronauts who have seen Earth from orbit describe something that goes far beyond a nice view. They report a cognitive shift, a fundamental change in how they perceive the planet, its inhabitants, and their own place in the cosmos. It is not merely aesthetic appreciation. It is, in the words of researchers, a state of awe with self-transcendent qualities. And it appears to be remarkably consistent across individuals, cultures, and decades of spaceflight. So, what exactly do astronauts report? Three themes emerge consistently in the literature. First, an overwhelming emotional response, not just wonder, but something closer to euphoria or even epiphany. Second, a visceral perception of the Earth's fragility, that thin blue line of atmosphere, the only thing separating us from the void. And third, a deep and often permanent sense of connection to all of humanity. As one researcher put it, the Earth becomes visible as a single shared system, and borders become absurd. Now, roughly 700 humans have left Earth's atmosphere since Yuri Gagarin's first flight in 1961. Their accounts vary in language, in religious framing, in political register, but the core claim is strikingly consistent. Seeing Earth from space produces a permanent reorientation of how one understands the planet. Even astronauts who were briefed on the effect in advance, who knew exactly what to expect, report that the actual experience caught them off guard. That's an important detail. It suggests something irreducible about the direct visual encounter, something that cannot be simulated by description alone. To understand the overview effect as a formal concept, we need to go back to its origins. The term was not coined by an astronaut or a neuroscientist. It came from a space philosopher and writer named Frank White, who noticed a pattern across decades of astronaut testimony and gave it a name that has since entered both academic and public discourse. Frank White published The Overview Effect, Space Exploration and Human Evolution in 1987, drawing on interviews with and writings by 30 astronauts and cosmonauts. His central argument was provocative, that space exploration is not merely a technological or scientific enterprise. It is an inevitable next step in the evolution of human consciousness. The book is now in its fourth edition, with new interviews, including astronauts who were aboard the International Space Station at the time of publication, and the concept has gained worldwide recognition in both academic and public spheres. This is the definitional core from the psychological literature, from a 2016 paper by Yadin and colleagues. Notice the precision of the language. It is not simply awe. It is awe with self-transcendent qualities, meaning the experience pushes the observer beyond ordinary self-awareness into a felt sense of unity with something larger. And it is precipitated by a visual stimulus, the sight of the entire Earth, which makes the overview effect, in some sense, one of the most dramatic examples of visual perception reshaping cognition that we have on record. I want to be intellectually honest with you. The evidence for the overview effect as a subjective experience is strong and consistent, but as a scientifically settled phenomenon, it remains incomplete. On the left, what we know. The effect has been documented across generations of space travelers with remarkable consistency. On the right, what we do not yet know. We lack the neurological data to define it as a single mechanism. We have no rigorous longitudinal studies on whether it produces durable behavioral change, and some accounts suggest the intensity softens after astronauts return to Earth. These are not reasons to dismiss the effect. They are directions for future research, and they matter enormously as spaceflight becomes more accessible. Now let's turn to one of the most provocative implications. Researchers writing in the environmental psychology literature have argued that the overview effect holds underexplored but promising potential for addressing our intensifying ecological crisis. The reasoning is straightforward. If the psychological basis of the crisis is an anthropogenic consciousness that treats the planet as a resource to be exploited, then an experience that makes the planet visible as a single, fragile, interconnected whole could be transformative. This has led to serious efforts to induce the overview effect in Earthbound participants using immersive virtual reality. Early work that is both promising and necessarily limited, since the question of whether a simulation can replicate the real thing remains wide open. Let me close with this image, Earthrise, captured by Apollo 8 in 1968. It was the first time any human had seen our planet rise over the limb of another world, and it catalyzed a shift in public consciousness that anticipated what Frank White would later name the overview effect. As we enter an era where commercial spaceflight and longer-duration missions make this experience available to more people, not just astronauts but citizens, the need to understand it rigorously becomes urgent. What we know is compelling. What we do not yet know is a research agenda waiting to be written. Thank you.